What's going on, everyone? Today I'm going to be reviewing Trogdor. This game's really cool. It's a cooperative area control board game where you take control, you and everybody, cooperative, take control of Trogdor, which is this dragon, and you are trying to burninate the entirety of the map. Whoa, like that. Now this game comes equipped with some really unique components. I'm a big fan of them. You got like peasants, a double archer, right? You have Trog hammer, you have the knights, as you see here, and of course the cool little cottages that you'd be burning. Now, in this game, you will be playing cooperatively, and I think it plays best with 3 to 4 players if you want to balance gameplay with game length. Throughout the game, you will be moving around, spending action points to burn tiles, eat peasants or burn peasants, dodge enemies in mountains, use tunnels to get from one place to another, and use abilities. Now, each person takes on one of these little characters. Now, this is a prototype version, of course. Each one of these characters, and each character has their own item, so you could just use your tactics as you will. I think that as far as difficulty goes, it's a very easy game to play. You know, drawing a card, seeing how you want to use your action points, and then drawing the movement for the enemies, and then repeating realistically. Of course, rulebook reads pretty easily. I mean, there are a lot of like variables in the game, so it's pretty long rulebook. If you have ADHD like someone, it's a little harder to read, but if you get a chance, like, definitely read through it because it makes the game so much easier to understand. As soon as I was able to sit down and focus and get myself to read from point A to point Z of that rule book, I really understood how to play. Yeah, I had to reference it very often because there are so many different things going on in the game that I forgot most of them. But after a couple playthroughs, I mean, it was pretty easily understandable. You understand at some point what happens when certain things move, when you get attacked, what happens if you eat versus burning, you know, what happens if you draw enough of these Trog hammer cards, putting him on the map. As far as gameplay itself, also very easy. So replay values there, you know, it's always going to be a little different. There's so many variations of maps on the rulebook that I don't see how, and you know, it definitely makes it different. But as far as the unique aspect, not just using the like different maps to make a different game, the unique aspect is just all working together in this type of area movement game, an area control game. You know, you're playing one of the Homestar Runner's characters, and you know, if anyone's familiar with Homestar Runner, they already know what to expect with this game. It's fun, it's zany, and it's not even, I would say it's like a 30-minute game. I thought it might play a little quicker, but it really just depends on like the luck, you know, how often is an enemy going to be recovering the tiles, or recovering cottages, or recovering peasants. Things like that can happen. In fact, why don't we just figure out how to play? So a round of Trogdor is extremely simple, and for this example, I'm going to go ahead and just say that I did only set up about half the like actual map. Definitely didn't set it up correctly because there's like different variations of maps that you use to set up, but I just wanted to at least get you familiar with how the game plays. Now this is definitely a prototype version, keep that in mind. A couple things to know here. This is going to be the action moves. These are going to be the like movement for the characters. This is the one character that is controlling Trogdor. There's multiple characters, cooperative, keep that in mind, and this is his item. Here's the health, and then here's the Trog hammer. So on your turn, what you will do, and again, the point of this game is to just burninate everything. Eat or burn peasants, burn down cottages, burn everything. A couple things to know is a lake. You need to burn all east, north, south, and west in order to burn the lake. All tunnels lead to other tunnels, and you can hide in mountains, okay? So let's say it's my turn, right? Trogdor goes, he pulls an action card. And perfect, so it's Trog hammer. So since this is my first draw of Trog hammer, I'm gonna put it to the side. But by the time the second one comes out, he's gonna be placed on the map. So I have a banked card that I forgot to give myself. So I have a banked card that I can choose from. So since I'm gonna draw this, and now I get to choose, do I wanna use this card or do I wanna use this card? They all have their own ability and the AP, which is the attack power, like action points. So this one allows me to use one of my attack points to burn any part of the map. This one, which is what I'm going to use, so I'm going to put this back in my bank, After my attack, or after I use my action points, I get to burninate everything in my north, south, and east. So I'm gonna go ahead and move. I get to move, I get to burninate, I get to eat, or I can burn. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's say I go 1, 2, and for my 2 more actions, I'll burninate him. So this goes on his head like this. I draw a card, and he gets to move in that direction. So he burns everything in his way. So when he burns the cottage. Now normally a cottage can only burn if you burn everything around it first, but since he's on fire, yes, that gets burnt. So I flip this card. He goes in this direction. So he'll go over 1, burn this, go over 1 more, burn that, go up, burn that, and now he's gone. Now let's say I would have devoured him instead, right? Instead of burninating him, I devour him. I'd put him in my health. But I like to play risky and have a very low health power. So that's what I'm doing. So now all these are burned. And again, the point of the game is to burn everything in sight. Since I burn the cottage, I can no longer have any peasants be put up on the board, which is totally fine because they're a pain when they're healing all the tiles. If you have less than the peasant shown on here, you actually draw a new peasant and put him next to the cottage. And since there's only 1 cottage in this example, that's where he'd go. And all peasants move in the direction that they're facing. That had a green arrow. So yeah, they go southeast, but they also get to heal the tile that they land on, which is what they do. So I just did my turn, right? End my turn. Now everything moves. I draw a card. If there's any less than the peasant shown here, then I draw peasants. But since I don't have a cottage, I'm totally good. Peasants would have moved southeast, but there's none on the board. So everyone else moves. So the knight will move 1, 2, which is here, 3, and 4. So he went through me. I'm now damaged. And the archers move 1, 2, 3, like that. And they point in the direction that they are moving. So they'll shoot, bam, bam. They miss me completely. Now let's say I would have been in the mountain at the point that he came over. I'm hiding, so I wouldn't be damaged. So the damage happens when they cross you or land on you when you're not in the mountain, or if you don't have ability that tells you to do so. So let's say I'm going to take another turn here, right? I'm going to draw a card. And this one has 7 action points. Troggy got a good night's rest and has extra energy. So I'm definitely going to use this versus my banked card. So I have 7 action points. I'm going to move and burn. Move, burn. Move, burn. Okay. So that's 6 actions. What else can I do? I get an extra action point. I should have been using this. Each turn I get an extra action point. So I have 8 now. And this, burninating any tile on the board as long as it's illegible, right? Like cottages, if it was an illegible cottage. So I have 8. So here's my 7, 8, and then anything on the board, 9, like that. I'm using this. I have to turn it over, and I have to recharge it at some point. To recharge this one specifically, when a peasant repairs a burninated tile, there's no more peasants. I'm not using that anymore. So let's say I drew another Trog hammer, right? He'd be put on the board now. He also moves the same way. You know, he moves, you draw this and move him. If he lands on a spot with another character, he has to move instantly. Also does damage, right? Let's say there was still a peasant on the board, and let's say I drew this right here. I'll give you an example here. I move southeast. He'd heal this like that. Let's say he moved here and just landed there, right? He didn't, but let's say he landed on the cottage. He repairs the cottage like that. So you can start spawning peasants again. And you just want everything to burn. You can't kill these guys, but you can definitely kill peasants. You want everything to burn in order to win. And that is the game. So since we're back, I mean, obviously you can tell this game is relatively easy to play. Yeah, I did set it up perfectly. Like, it's definitely not an example of the game at all, but it's enough to really get the point across. You know, is this something that you want to buy or not? Again, it's area control. You are burninating tiles, burninating cottages, and until you burn everything, the game is not over. You are dodging enemies. You're trying to heal yourself. If you're losing too much life, you're expending action points any way that you want to, and everybody else is doing the same thing. I do find it a little harder if you're playing with new players and you haven't played this a lot not to quarterback. I definitely was doing that myself, you know, trying to figure out what's the best way to do their turn versus what they already want to do, but that's just me. Of course, this is a prototype, and I expect the components to come out with very high quality. I mean, already the game's really well put together. I can't wait to see what the final product's going to look like. And like I said too, is the components are really neat. Obviously, put a lot of work into these as well. There is a lot to the rulebook, and I don't know if I even was able to cover everything at once. But anything I didn't cover, I'll go ahead and put below. And if any questions, I could probably answer as well. There is always a cheat sheet that comes with the game, so don't feel like it's a little overwhelming. I was able to get it, and I have ADD. So, thank you for watching.